Hello, everyone. Welcome to Secret Spaces. This is the March 28th edition. We're going to start bringing our guests up here on stage, talking about privacy as a service on Secret Network today. We've been getting a lot of questions about how privacy as a service works, what kinds of use cases we're looking for. Today, we're hosting an amazing team that is utilizing privacy as a service, Exchqr. As always, these are recorded sessions for Secret Spaces. We'll get these shared out around the community after we wrap up here today, but it's always better to get the alpha live. As always, we try to host Secret Spaces every single Tuesday. We've been taking some weeks off lately as we've had a lot of in-person opportunities for Secret Network that are being pursued around the world by secret agents. We've been active in Paris over the past couple of weeks, but it's good to have our regularly scheduled Secret Spaces back. We've also got a pinned tweet here. We'll explain a little bit more about that in just a second after we get through our guest introductions, but sit tight. You're going to be able to, as always, claim a very special secret badge, a free mint secret NFT just for showing up today and supporting the ecosystem, supporting the teams building in the ecosystem. We'll get to that in a moment, but it is my great pleasure to go and introduce our guest for today.
My name is Prashant. I'm one of the co-founders of Exchqr. At Exchqr, we're building decentralized custody, and as Store already introduced, we're using secret networks, privacy as a service, capability, and secret networks overall infrastructure is an important part of our custody infra stack, and it is one of the ways we make decentralized custody possible. So really excited to kick this off and talk more about how we do this under the hood. What kind of market we're building for, and also maybe towards the end take some audience questions.
Definitely excited to save some time at the end for audience questions. We always try to leave a good chunk of time at the end for people to ask questions or to share more general updates from around the secret ecosystem. So yeah, looking forward to that. Right before we kick off and get into the weeds of what Exchqr is building, I want to make sure you all see the pinned tweet in this space. We love being able to engage listeners and give them a little taste of the projects that they're coming to support. So if you notice, there is a link to today's Secret Spaces badge, a free mint secret NFT, which is privacy preserving. You can go mint it for yourself. Go ahead and follow that link. Patrick, do you have a claim code for this one? Is there a claim code for this one?
Yeah, claim code is threshold, as in threshold wallets.
Oh my God, how many H's are in that?
Just one.
Got it. Check it out with claim code threshold, THRESHOLD.
Actually, two.
No, you're kidding me. Well, there's two total, but they're not in a row. I know I'm spelling it correctly.
Right, that's what I meant.
It was a trick question, but you did good. THRESHOLD is today's claim code. Go and claim it. This is Secret Spaces number 30. So if you're collecting these badges, just to show your support for the ecosystem, we have a ton of agents who love to do that. So thank you again for your support. Go claim it now. With that housekeeping out of the way, we're ready to get into the meat of today with Prashant. Thank you so much for joining us. So you did a quick intro there, but let's go deep. What exactly is Exchqr building and why is it needed?
Yeah, so Exchqr, like I mentioned briefly, is a decentralized custody platform with direct on-chain trading capabilities and risk management capabilities built right into the platform. We're ultimately catering to an institutional market. So institutions and enterprises that are looking to get into on-chain trading directly, like that's the market that we service. And at the core, what we try to do vis-a-vis other custody service providers that are institutional grade out there is mitigate the centralization or counterparty risk that comes with most institutional grade custody providers. And that's the notion of decentralized custody. If you think about any other institutional custody service in the space, there's significant counterparty involvement with key management, whether this is key management or counterparties' role in how they enforce your policies for you, right? And so, as we've seen in the aftermath of the FTX implosion, late last year, that is definitely changed, caused a sea change in how institutional investors view risks associated with custody. This was something that was not like on the radar for a lot of people, but that changed post FTX, right? And so our endeavor here is to build a platform that where you're able to enforce your custody rules. Whether it's like role-based access controls, compliance controls, risk controls as an organization, in a private way, and also in a decentralized way. So there's no counterparty risk really. So that's the core of what we do. In addition to that, we also pack in a lot of like institutional optimized capabilities. I already mentioned like customizable risk and policy controls. But apart from that, things that institutions also prize, such as privacy, automations, compliance, low latency, high performance, front running protection, those kinds of features. So they're all packed into the platform under one umbrella. But at the core, our mission is to really drive the adoption of decentralized services, which is an expanding universe of services that are completely disintermediated today, made possible through smart contracts, and provide institutions the ability to access these in a secure, compliant, and private way, while also mitigating the custody or centralization risks that are inherent with a lot of the existing institutional grade custody providers today.
It's pretty exciting to see how you can be serving use cases of more traditionally centralized companies with a decentralized stack. And as part of that stack, you're using Secret Network. So I'm very curious and very biased, of course, but how are you leveraging Secret specifically as part of your product?
Yeah, great question. So, like I mentioned, Secret's an important component of our overall infrastructure. It's the part that really makes the decentralized custody possible, and sort of solves the problem of uh, counterparty or centralization risks that are inherent with other providers. And so the breakthrough idea here for us was to use Secret Network's existing decentralized network of confidential computing modules, Intel SGX enclaves. Really, that's the trusted execution environment. So like node operators of Secret Network all run the confidential computing environments where only trusted code runs, right? And so they're able to arrive at consensus in a decentralized, permissionless way, right? And that's like really meaningful. Like that was a like really powerful concept, and it was a huge unlock for us because we ride on top of Secret Network to leverage this decentralized trust, trust, security, and privacy. I should say like all three, by essentially securing like partial key material on the network and enforcing the custody rules in a private way, right? So when I say custody rules, I'm referring to like all the corporate access controls, risk controls, compliance policies, and so on, that are coded directly into a smart contract, into a secret smart contract, and then run on chain in a tamper-proof way. And ultimately, the control of these access controls, right? How these policies are configured and enforced is decided by the end customers themselves, right? And even the modification is something that only the end users can do, right? So like specific individuals within the organizations that have the power to change existing policies, or like create new policies and so on, right? Which is essentially like what you see with centralized platforms, but well, in a centralized platform, all of that is being enforced by your counterparty. So you trust your counterparty to enforce all of this for you. and obviously that has benefits, right? Like in a centralized server, like when all of these rules sit in a centralized server, uh, privacy is a given, right? Whereas when you do this on a smart contract, privacy is not is often, like if you're talking about Ethereum and like most other chains out there today, that can't be taken for granted, right? And that's where secret network sort of like really becomes an important sort of part of our infrastructure, where it lets us enforce, lets us like build systems whereby our customers can like write these policy controls and access controls on chain directly, while preserving privacy of these risk controls, right? Because when you think about institutional enterprise uh, participants, uh, privacy is of essence. You cannot, a lot of these risk controls and compliance policies, it's important for these organizations to, keep them private. And so essentially what was not possible, heretofore, using open decentralized systems is now possible. And that's what we're building towards.
I mean, it sounds incredible. So, do you like the language that Secret uses when we talk about things like programmable privacy? This idea that you can have this control over what is private, what is public in these arbitrarily complex ways. Is that like a terminology that you would use? Do you use different terminology when you're thinking about these concepts of just different permissioning structures?
Yeah, I mean, we use that precise language quite often internally. Like programmable privacy is definitely what this entire concept that I just described is, where where you should be able to encode anything to run on chain in a trustless way, and ensuring security and decentralization, but then be able to decide who specifically can view the content in this example, like the contents of the smart contract, right? The specific rules which are written in the smart contract. And so that's possible through viewing keys in secret network. So this whole notion of like you decide like everything is private by default, but then like you can hand over viewing keys to whoever needs to see the specifics of how a specific contract works, as an example, right? And so that is pretty useful, for building our platform, and in general, like it seems like a very powerful idea, and like ultimately, like that is that is how, like without privacy, I think one thing that everybody in this room can probably agree on is like without privacy, we're not going to scale in terms of the use cases that are possible with Web3. And so like programmable privacy, where your data is private by default, but then there is the capability to give access to people selectively, and you choose how you do that, is really powerful. And like it's going to be the way of of increased adoption, especially with these market segments that are highly privacy sensitive.
I think obviously we see it exactly the same way. And most of the time, when we think about what should or could be possible with decentralized technologies, privacy is the first blocker that people run into. And time again, we've seen people hand wave it away and say, well, maybe this is just something that we'll be able to throw a zero knowledge proof at, or this is something we'll solve when the institutions are here, when the users are here. And the longer we put off these kinds of complicated foundation level questions, the longer we put off actual adoption. So it's great to see that not only is it something you've considered, it's something that you're putting at the center of everything that you're doing, the ability to create these types of controls. And I think you feel like we feel it wouldn't be possible to build these kinds of technologies on a completely transparent blockchain structure. Is that fair to say that you don't feel that that would be possible at all?
Yeah, yeah. I think, like I said, earlier, we definitely prize decentralization, even in the custody layer, and this was something that heretofore has mostly been absent. Like institutional custody before FTX have like almost like 100% of those are probably like all centralized players, where there's a counterparty. That counterparty is enforcing like your rules, is managing your keys and so forth. I think in the aftermath of FTX, like things have definitely changed, and institutions have started pricing, these kinds of controls in a decentralized way, like custody, but in a decentralized fashion. Elimination of counterparty risks, like definitely the market prices these things now more. There's a fundamental shift in how companies and institutions think about it. To your point, like definitely, something that is, um, uh, definitely that is something that is going to lead to greater adoption. And like Secret certainly leading the way. There are a few other players in the space also. I think like all the work that Secret and these players are doing to advance privacy of blockchains is definitely going to come in handy as institutions step in and ask for like all of these things but at once, right? Like you want say best price execution and like decentralized way of say doing exchanges or doing like getting into derivatives and like all kinds of these on-chain transactions, but also like in a private way, and without like having to entrust a counterparty with your keys or with enforcing your policies and such. That's a moment when a lot of the technology that Secret and other players are building will come in handy and become extremely useful.
That's a great perspective to have. So let's talk a little bit about before this. We talk a bit more about balancing decentralization and all of the different types of technologies that could be used here. We'll talk a little bit also about the use of TEs in particular. But let's talk topically for a second. We're seeing a lot more attention from regulators, especially on the entire space, whether it's staking services or whether it's the activities of centralized exchanges around customer deposits or anything else. Is that part of the motivation here as well? Like, what's your attitude or thoughts right now on the current state of global regulation of digital assets? And what role do technologies like yours have in either working with regulators or satisfying the demands of regulators or even helping to define some rules for a space that really hasn't had concrete rules, especially at the global level, but oftentimes at every single jurisdiction, there's a lot of confusion. What role do you see this playing for you, and what role do you see your own work playing for them?
Yeah, I think that's a fairly complex question with probably like a highly nuanced answer. Uh, like we, so like I said, we're a big fan of like most things decentralized, and so as the economy is decentralizing, we're seeing the emergence of practically every service in a disintermediated way, right? Where up until now these services were being provided through a central agent. We're seeing that unbundling happen where like a centralized exchange was able to offer X, Y, and Z, and now these same services are available through a decentralized protocol, right? And so like that's a huge unlock because like the recent regulatory sort of actions that we saw, post the events of 2022, have by and large impacted centralized entities disproportionately, and for good reason, right? Like if you look at what happened in 2022, there was a lot going on, inside these organizations there was like a complete failure of risk controls. There were some, oftentimes there was like some malicious intent that muddied the water along the way. And so for good reason, like regulators are going after these centralized players, and there is need for robust regulation in the digital asset space to rein in centralized actors. But then decentralization through all of that more or less stood strong. Obviously, decentralized protocols have seen a lot of hacks also, but like they have a completely different kind of problem, right? They don't have problems of like bad risk management or like poor risk controls and so on, or like corrupt motivations. Um, it remains to be seen how the regulators grapple with the sort of new this new age of services where like services just happen to be decentralized, right? There's no one specific party to go after, right? A great example of this was when SEC fined Kraken $30 million for operating their staking service recently. They said that their staking service really constituted unregistered securities for Americans, and so that was like the reason for going after Kraken. And then, as in the aftermath of that, you just saw a lot of inflow of funds to decentralized protocols such as Lido, right? Decentralized staking services, really. So that was a great example of how decentralized services have become practical, pragmatic choices for people, like as opposed to being like a pipe dream or like this idealistic philosophy of like the way the economy should be. So like it's already started to happen. A lot of decentralized services are maturing pretty rapidly, and that's great to see. In terms of how like what role we play specifically, we want to be the gateway, like the way institutions and a lot of like companies and enterprise in the space are able to access decentralized services directly, like benefit from it. A lot of these actors participants today are like sitting on the sidelines because there are no great ways to access these capabilities in a way that meaningfully manages risk, economic risk of exploitation, risk of compliance, all of those, and like compliant internal policies, risk control, and so on. And so, we can play a role in bringing such a platform to these participants. But as for the question of like, how we see regulation in the space evolve, I think that's that's a big question mark still, even for us. And the SEC recently came out and said, classified a lot of assets as secure, a lot of crypto assets as securities. Don't know where things are going to land on that, but there's good reason and arguments to be made for why a lot of these crypto assets are not securities. Like even if you just look at the Howey test, and which is like this test for how SEC determines whether an asset is a security or not. But hey, I mean, currently the sort of the ongoing tensions between the crypto industry and the SEC, highlight a more antagonistic side of SEC, as a regulator for this space. And so a lot remains to be seen, like how the space will flourish and what will happen. But I think one other thing I'll add to this is that this is definitely also keeping a lot of like companies and institutions in particular on the sidelines, just lack of regulatory clarity. But we'll see like how this space evolves. I mean, long term we are very bullish, and I think like people that really understand how these services benefit the masses, and how and how a lot of these are not like uh, they're not securities. A lot of crypto assets are not securities, as an example. I think like as there's more clarity among regulators, and like there's more consensus among regulators, we'll probably see some constructive laws coming out of these government agencies.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how long it takes to get to some degree of consensus. I'm not holding my breath, but yeah, there's definitely progress being made. Now, the demand for the products that you're building, I mean, maybe it's informed by that, but the demand is not coming from regulators, right? The demand is coming from your clients. So, what kind of customer segments are you guys then primarily focused on? Maybe as a beachhead market, or where have you gotten feedback from initially that's informing how you're choosing to build your products?
Yeah, so we're like I mentioned, we're like mostly primarily focused on the institutional market, because fundamentally these are capabilities that have not been accessible in a non-custodial or on a decentralized platform, to institutional participants so far, right? And we're trying to like bring the benefits of like decentralized custody and like accessing decentralized services via a platform where you're not like relying on a counterparty directly to institutions. And of course, like it's fraught with challenges. We like the sort of standards that we have to hold ourselves up to are really centralized exchanges, centralized trading platforms, because we've got to be as private and as secure and as fast, right? And so like all of those good things. And these properties are fairly trivial to maintain as a centralized entity, but as a decentralized one, these challenges get much harder. Of course, like there is just using infrastructure like the secret network is definitely very promising. Like helps us get much further ahead, and like we're kind of building on the shoulders of giant, proverbially, and so that's great. But really, just the institutional, to answer your question, like more institutional players, so hedge funds, market makers, prop trading funds, family offices, exchanges, banking and non-banking institutions. And then that's on the institutional side, and on the Web3 sort of enterprise side, a lot of companies, that want like the similar kind of privacy and efficiency, but also care about the counterparty risks that other custodians present. So also catering to that market, and then also like protocol teams that are launching their own tokens, often have to do so in a they often have to partner with a custody service provider that helps them be compliant, right, in a lot of ways, and also provides a lot of flexibility. So that's another market that we're exploring, although like it's nascent. Currently, our focus is more on the hedge fund and market maker and family offices. Trying to get as much feedback from that user persona to understand what are the kinds of activities they want to do in the platform and optimize the platform around that.
That makes a lot of sense. Let's quickly reset the space for just a second. We're about halfway through. We're about to get into the tech a little bit more deeply. But just to recap for people, we're doing Secret Spaces. We do this every Tuesday. Today's March 28th. We're speaking with the Exchqr team, talking about how they use Secret as part of privacy as a service for what they are building for decentralized custody and risk management as a platform. We're about to get into their tech. Just so you know, we do have a special free mint secret NFT for this secret space, just like we do for all of our secret spaces. If you've been collecting these, or if this is your very first one, click the link that we have pinned here to the Twitter space. Go through, mint your very own memento from this space to prove you were here, supporting the teams from our ecosystem. They really appreciate that you're here. We're really appreciating that you're here as well. But wanted to mention that that's there. You will need the claim code. Today's claim code is Threshold, THRESHOLD. That's the claim code that'll let you get today's special secret badge. Let's get back to the content then. So you are using Secret. You're using privacy as a service. How else are you thinking about security and privacy? What other cryptographic solutions are you considering or are you using, and how is that working together with Secret to form a foundation for your product?
Yeah. So fundamentally, we I think I mentioned this before. Use this hybrid approach between crossing sort of MPC multi-party computation over with smart contracts. There's been a raging debate, among wallet experts in the space on what the future of wallet looks like. There's a lot of proponents of smart contract based wallets. Account abstraction was the talk of town at ETH Denver last month. So there's an amazing amount of progress. First of all, let me mention on the account abstraction, like just pushing the boundaries for how to solve the user experience problem or the usability problem with existing wallet infrastructure. And then MPC or multi-party computation also offers some distinct benefits to doing secure sort of crypto asset custody, right? And the kind of the benefits that they offer, they're often fairly complementary. So like MPC is off chain and lets you go across chains. And so if you're interested in being present on multiple chains, there's this one sort of protocol that can use to shard keys that can be used to shard keys across chains, right? Because most chains, like the vast majority of them, use fairly deterministic sort of signature schemes. ECDSA and EDDSA are like the most common ones that are seen across most, at least public blockchains out there. And so that's how MPC is kind of exciting. And it's like there's like don't take my word for it. Like if you just look at sort of the adoption of MPC technology in the last couple of years, it definitely goes to show that the sort of message of like MPC security has definitely resonated with the market. And it also is like also for the most part, like the latest MPC implementations have stood the test of time and been battle hardened through the years. At the same time, like smart contracts offer some incredible benefits. Things like decentralization of or like elimination of a counterparty to trust, right? Like that bit is pretty key. So all transactions, like all policy management is happening directly on chain. And the other impressive thing about like smart contract based wallets is that you can program them to be extremely expressive and customizable, right? So you can get out of it like any kind of access control or any kind of policy that you want. So and that's because like these are like completely programmable platforms, right? And so what we've done is we bring the benefit of both in our platform. um, uh, and an added benefit with Secret, like because we are building the sort of custody contracts on the Secret network, the added benefit is that of privacy, which is like I mentioned before, really important to a lot of organizations. You wouldn't, as an organization leader, you wouldn't want your people outside the organization knowing what your internal risk controls are. And so so like these two technologies are like very core to like how we build Exchqr. And so what we do is like if you, let's say you hold some Bitcoin, so the Bitcoin the key to your Bitcoin wallet is first sharded, and then like partial key material is housed in the secret smart contract and is controlled by the sort of secret network of nodes running Intel SGX enclaves. And then like the remainder is like controlled, as a combination between the customer and us, right? There's a second layer to this, which is of the hardware that we use to secure this, and obviously the secret network uses Intel SGX, so all of the like encryption, decryption, all sensitive cryptography operations happen inside the Intel SGX, which is like the trusted component of the secret network nodes. And on our end, we also use TEs in a big way, but we also like as a sort of philosophical sort of point of view, we try to diversify the risk inherent in any of these technologies by creating redundancies, or like by using like multiple different options that are available. So like the TEs that we work with are different from Intel SGX, right? The centralized TEs that we work with. So AWS Nitro and AMD SEV are some examples of TEs that we are working with on our end. And so like all put together, like this setup makes sure that there is no single point of failure, right? So if some vulnerability is detected with an Intel SGX, the AWS Nitro or the AMD SEV instances are still running fine, and so like your secrets are not wholly compromised, and so your funds are safe, right? So that's the philosophy that we use. So we use this general sort of idea of like diversifying. Employing diversification throughout like various layers of the stack is just a general principle we try to use throughout the stack. Another thing that we do is we work only, so when it comes to like protocols and smart contracts, we try to work with battle-hardened implementations of these. On the smart contract front, we're working closely with the Gnosis Safe, rebranded as Safe, the Safe team, and they've obviously been in the space for a very long time. And so a lot of our smart contract architecture is inspired by and derived from Gnosis Safe. And then on the MPC protocol front, we work with we work directly with the protocol implementation that have really been battle tested over the last few years, that a lot of the major MPC providers use. So we're not like winging it. We're not like rolling our own crypto, so to speak. We're going with the ones that are battle hardened. And then the other thing I'll say, like in terms of security and privacy, is just how working with the secret network, working with other folks in the industry as well as in academia, we're increasingly becoming aware of all the various kinds of threat models that can exist. And so we're using that as a way to constantly upgrade the sophistication of our platform in terms of its privacy and security guarantees. And so we're on this exponential curve, constantly improving. And so I think it's a lot better than one and done, and having sort of a state of stasis with the platform, which is what you see with a lot of other custody providers. But we're trying to push the envelope, with the privacy offering, as well as on the security side. With a lot of that is being discovered, right? And Secret Network is right at the center of the privacy and security revolution, and so we learn a lot from you guys as well.
Great, and clearly you guys have thought a lot about the trade-offs here, and it's great to hear that you're focusing on the technologies that have been, as you said, battle tested. There's certainly something to be said for having these technologies available already in production and seeing how these things do and don't work and how they could or should be improved. So with that, we did just add Guy Ziskin, CEO of Secret Labs, who are the core developers for the protocol. If he's got questions or comments, I know that they've been working pretty closely with you guys, especially as you're one of the early projects using this privacy as a service model. So while you're up here on stage, Guy, if you want to introduce yourself or ask a question or just add to anything that's being said, clearly this is a huge piece of the future of the network.
I think Prashant and Exchqr, they've done an amazing job kind of explaining how they do this and the benefits of what they do. But I think it's I just want to add to that in my opinion, this whole idea of let's call it on-chain custody, or most people in the Ethereum space know this as a kind of abstraction. This is probably one of 2 or 3 major next cycle of revolutions that we're going to see. And in my opinion, this is going to completely change the space. So first of all, kudos for Exchqr for really being at the forefront, and they've been doing an awesome job. We've been working with them for a while, and I can tell you and vouch that everything that they're building is super interesting. The other point that I kind of want to touch on is actually on the cryptography side. So I know Exchqr said that they're using battle-tested things, but I actually think that, and while that definitely should be the focus for, let's say, the next 6 months or so, I think that actually for doing those kind of things, this kind of shared custody model, where you have, let's say, one share of your private key in a smart contract, another share with the user, or maybe another share with a service provider, and then another share with the user. I do want to kind of mention to people who aren't really aware of is that even the state of the art and everything we have today, maybe it's ballot tested, but ballot tested, it means that these systems have been out for 2 years, which is actually not that long, but it's actually not that efficient. However, we've been spending the last 6 months making those things 10x, 100x, maybe even more efficient, and we've been getting amazing results. And this is something I just personally can't wait to share, because I think it's really going to move the needle, not just in Secret, but in other ecosystems. If people look at like my Twitter or Asaf's Twitter, if you scroll back a bit, you would see that we're actually able to do a proof of concept of that and actually launch a transaction from Secret to Ethereum using one of these like neural algorithms. So a lot more to say there. Can't really share that much yet right now, but it's like really coming very soon. And just in general, I think this is gonna be the one of the revolutions that people don't anticipate in 2 years. Like maybe mark my words, look back 2 years from now, this is gonna be a huge thing.
Yeah, I mean, so like as somebody like that's familiar with what you guys are building, I think it's incredible. And we, our team's certainly going to benefit from your work. I mean, it directly touches what we do. And like just to clarify, like while battle hardened is important, like you mentioned, Guy. Like most of these protocols have been around only for a couple of years, so it's not that long. And there's always room to make things like more decentralized, more secure, and more optimizing the usability side of things also, which is what we understand you guys are building. So yeah, really excited for that. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, we're obviously biased, but we do think that this is a super interesting use case. And I think the like large parts of the industry participants are probably asleep to the relevance of something like this. But like sort of the ability to encode a lot of your enterprise grade rules, custody rules, policy compliance, all that kind of stuff on chain, and in the process eliminate sort of counterparty risks. It's going to be pretty sort of game changing for that sector, for that market, right? Specifically institutional and enterprise markets that is so far not priced these capabilities as much, and like have largely existed on centralized exchanges. So that, like in confluence with the trend of like increasing decentralization of practically any service in the digital asset space, is definitely something to watch closely.
100% in agreement. And just to be clear, like you're doing it the right way. Like you're starting with what is out and what is in production and what is and that is the right way to approach this. Like all we're trying to help is to give you guys and obviously others as well the APIs, the privacy service APIs needed to actually take this to the next level and to scale this, as I said, 10x, 100x. But definitely the right way to do it, and that is always the right approach, is start with what's out there, start with what's already tested, get the initial users excited, and push forward.
Clearly, there's a lot to look forward to here, not just from Exchqr, but from the entire secret ecosystem. But having these best-in-class examples of how this can be used and having people to take it to market, especially amongst the institutional audience, which we know is only getting more excited about crypto, despite all the challenges, despite all of the concerns about regulation or otherwise. This is obviously an unstoppable trend. And institutions take a very long-term perspective, even when retail doesn't. So it's great to see privacy as a service being taken seriously, great to see secret being taken seriously, great to see products actually come to market that can drive adoption. We've got about 10 minutes before the top of the hour. We have guys still on stage. We have, of course, the Exchqr team here on stage still. We're going to save this time. Please stick your hands up if you've got questions. This is a very unique opportunity to get your voices heard or ask your questions either about Exchqr specifically, about privacy as a service, about the tech that's being used here or discussed, about some of the trade-offs and some of the opportunities. Any hands that we see we'll take up here on stage, and we'll try to leave the last 10 minutes for that. Until I see those hands, though, if there's anything else, I'll ask the Exchqr team, what's the timelines now? Where are you in the development of the platform? What's the timeline for a launch expectation? I'm pretty sure everybody here definitely wants to be able to track you guys as you come to market.
Yeah, so we're still in the building phase, and we expect. So we're in this phase where we're like, proactively reaching out to prospects, seeking feedback on what we're building. But like by and large, like the contours of the platform are well defined. I think the backend stuff got done like a while back, like all of the smart contracts and the backend architecture. What we're currently focused more on is the UI UX, because that's what really gets customers in this market more engaged. And so, that's the work that we're currently working through. That's the part we're currently working through, and we're hoping to go live with some of our early design partners sometime in early May, in a sort of closed beta. And then we'll progressively roll out the platform for a public launch, GA, probably later in the year.
Exciting to hear. I mean, it's really great to just see this is a completely new utility for the network. So really excited to see how we can support you. Again, if you've got questions, we've got still about 8 minutes until the top of the hour. Or if you've just got updates from yourselves, if you're building in the Secret ecosystem, we try to take some time at the ends of these to feature that as well. I would again encourage anybody listening to go follow the Exchqr team here. They are joining from their official Twitter account. So please give them a follow here. Let them know that you want to keep in touch, that you want to hear about their journey taking these products to market. It's really awesome to have them with us here today. I am bringing up another distinguished speaker. We've got a question or a comment or something from Andrew. So welcome to the stage.
Yo, hey there. Thanks for the talk, Prashant. Yeah, I really love the use of secret contracts to basically have a programmable rule set, and it holds one key of a share. That's, I think, just a really nice use case. Is there anything public written about this? I wanted to tweet and reshare it and couldn't find it. I kind of understand your timeline. You're building now and public release later, but is there any discussion of even that core concept that I could retweet and share?
Hey Andrew, really flattered that you're listening in. Thanks for joining. So I think last I recall I did share some stuff with you, some material. We've not publicly published any of that material just yet, but I don't think a lot has changed since then. So I'm almost thinking that we'll just go ahead and publish that. And in the meantime, I could, if you want, I could reshare that content and feel free to share it within your network. I suspect that is a doc send though, so I'll probably send a PDF or something so it's easier to share. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, really cool concept.
Thanks, Andrew.
Ideally, on our end, we'll have something. I mean, we're working on a paper right now, and we're working on the test case implementation. That would be ideally a reference implementation, or at least a POC, that we can open source. Ideally, that's going to be available in a month, because there's also a conference deadline.
Double exciting. Another call for questions here with 5 minutes to go. Just want to make sure that anybody listening in gets their chance. We do record, of course, all of these secret spaces. You'll be able to listen back to them here on Twitter. You'll be able to listen to them on the Secret Network YouTube, just in case you miss them. We're going to continue to feature amazing builders from around the Secret ecosystem. If you're listening to this and you're considering privacy as a service for your own products, definitely take a deeper dive into the network and how it can be used. Documentation is available at docs.scrt.network. The homepage for the network is at scrt.network. You can go down the rabbit hole there and see how privacy solutions provided by Secret can strengthen and revolutionize your Web3 product. And also, if you want to keep in touch with all the builders in the ecosystem, we do recommend you join us in the Secret Discord, which is at chat.scrt.network. Jump in, you'll see builders and validators, core developers, people from around the ecosystem interacting with each other there. We do have one more question. I'm going to try to bring them up to the stage here, and then we'll probably wrap up because that'll take us to the top of the hour. We do secret spaces every week, so we do hope to see you back for the next one. But we've got time for one more here. We brought up corporate. Go ahead if you've got a question for the team.
Yes,
here.
Hi everyone. I would just like to congratulate you, Exchqr, and thank you for caring about your users' privacy, and as well as say that it's really amazing. This privacy as a public privacy as a service is amazing to allow protocols to use it without even building on the secret networks. Mind blowing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Very kind words, and we appreciate it. And yes, we can expect to see a lot more teams building with this model to feature here. This is the sort of technology that can benefit people who are building on any blockchain in any ecosystem, whether you're building in the Ethereum ecosystem or in the Cosmos ecosystem. We've had builders from the Solana ecosystem as well, integrating secret contracts as part of their stack. And they obviously think much deeper than just how secret is a part of this stack. They think very much about what's bleeding edge and what is going to be already battle tested in production when they're building these services. Really exciting to see how the best teams in the world are choosing to consider secret as a part of their own solution. And I think that certainly includes the Exchqr team here. Anything else from the Exchqr team that you want to leave our audience with today before we sign off? Anywhere else that they can follow along with your progress, or any other announcements or teases you want to make?
Yeah, I think in terms of like what's the best channel to follow the progress, I'd say the Exchqr Twitter handle, so Exchqr_XYZ, is probably the best place to follow our progress. I mean, the way we iterate on product development is like fairly customer focused. So in the coming months, we're definitely going to be working more closely. Once we have a beta launch, and so hopefully we'll have like updates for the community, over the coming months. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, there's not much else really to share right now. I mean, we're really excited about this idea, and we do think that while account abstraction in Ethereum is obviously like seriously exciting, and it's creating a lot of noise and buzz, and that's great. I think we're probably operating at a level that's probably like the next gen for account abstraction. As Guy also briefly mentioned. And we strongly believe that like this unlocks a lot of different kinds of use cases, especially on the enterprise and institutional front, which we can't like wait to test our hypotheses and actually deploy a lot of that in production and onboard more institutions and enterprises this way. And like we'll keep. I mean, if there are any updates, I think we'll probably post them on the Twitter channel. I think that's mostly it. Thanks for having us, Tor, Guy, Patrick. It's amazing to be working with you guys.
Pleasure to have you guys building in the ecosystem. Thank you also to Guy for joining. Thank you for all the questions from the community, especially from Andrew. We will be doing this again. Please, before we sign off, note we have pinned one more thing, which is Hack Secret, a 5-week online hackathon. If this has gotten you excited about what you could be building with Secret, how you want to bring your own solutions to market, definitely check out the hackathon. All you need to do is click the link that we've pinned here in the Twitter space. Go and check that out in RSVP. Send this Twitter space to your friends if you want them to get a better sense of how privacy as a service could be impacting Web3 in the very near future, or if you just want to get them more familiar with Secret, or please send them a link to the hackathon to get them to sign up if they're developers who are interested in winning some incredible prizes and meeting some incredible other builders, or if they're just looking to get hands-on with something really cool. Secret contracts are, as you've heard on this space, revolutionary. So thank you everybody again for joining Secret Spaces. This is Tor signing off from the Secret account. Thank you again to our guests from the Exchqr team. Phenomenal work, both on this space and in general. And thank you again to all of you who've joined us here today. We'll see you for the very next Secret Spaces shortly. Keep an eye on Twitter for more announcements from all the teams in the Secret ecosystem. And have a great rest of your weeks.